Hello everyone, welcome. This is SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers, Microsoft MVP, and Power Hour is a weekly show that my good buddies and I do every Wednesday at 11 Central. And SharePoint Power Hour is all about just things you can do in SharePoint without being a programmer, without doing anything super complicated. And you can have SharePoint on-prem, SharePoint 2013, SharePoint Online, Office 365, SharePoint 2016 we cover. A lot of topics we cover just sort of run the gamut, and it doesn't matter what version you have. And then, of course, when we do sessions that are specific to a certain version of SharePoint, we always mention that. And we have a Slack channel. So Slack is this great little app that lets you chat and have conversations and threads and things like that. And we use it for our discussions that we do during Power Hour. So it is the description on this YouTube video that you're watching has a link to fill out the form if you have not ever been in the Slack channel before. But if you've already joined and I've invited you, it's IWMentor, that's the name of my company, .slack.com. And so if you've already gotten the little invite from me once you've joined, then that's where you go for all the other sessions that we do. The thing about Slack is I have to invite people individually. I can't just, and especially if you're filling in the form while I'm doing Power Hour, I'm not going to be able to let you in immediately. So Slack's a lot of fun. It's got a desktop app you can download. It's got a phone app. It's got the ability to do little sort of reactions, like you can, whenever you hover over people's little comments that they make in our little Power Hour channel, it's got a little add reaction thing. So I can go click on maybe something Joelle wrote a few minutes ago and add a reaction, like I just added a little smiley face to it. You can do fun little things with this little add-in that I have called Giphy, which you just type a backslash. It gives you all kinds of extra things that you can do in Slack. And you type a backslash Giphy, and you can do like, I'll do like Giphy business intelligence. Anyway, it's just fun and silly, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Slack, but you guys should try it. You should install the app and join in the chat and ask questions and make this a live interactive conversation while we're doing Power Hour. All right, so I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, and you know the drill. I think you're both muted, FYI.
Yeah, and I'm always first. So, my name's Corey. I would have a lower third, but it doesn't want to work. So, I'm Corey. You can find me on Twitter. I think my Twitter handle's in Slack. You guys should definitely all get on there because it's fun. I've been doing SharePoint for about 10, 11 years, somewhere around there. I do a lot of out-of-the-box stuff too. I like to play around with all sorts of things, though. Yeah, I don't know.
Hey guys, it's Joelle. I am a SharePoint consultant in Atlanta for a company called Co-Designed, and I do a lot of the search and information architecture type stuff. And Laura and I will be at SP TechCon next week doing a presentation. So if you guys are going to be there, come see our tutorial on Monday. It'll be awesome.
I'll be creeping on your session in the back, just yelling out cat calls and stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That'll be fun. We'll all get to see each other, so that'll be a blast. I'm gonna mute. So I'm muting the Power Hour chat that's going on while I'm doing the session, so that it just doesn't make sounds. But I'm still in there, and because I need to be able to paste links to things. So today's topic is Power BI. So Power BI is a business intelligence product from Microsoft, and I've already pasted a couple of links in the chat window. You guys, I recommend that you go to powerbi.com and download the desktop app, and so you can try it out. And you can all do that right now while you're watching. All right, so Power BI. So I told you guys a week or two ago that I was going to do a Power Hour on Power BI. Well, in the little amount of time that I gave myself to learn Power BI, I didn't really get like fully get my head. It's a lot. I didn't fully get my head around it. I did learn a lot. They have a whole bunch of learning little modules on their on the Power BI sites, and I went through and learned all the concepts and things like that. And I did a lot of things in Power BI, but I don't feel like I fully learned it because there's just so much to it, and it's so cool. So my background in this topic is I used to love Microsoft Access. I used Access all the time. So I feel like I was never a SQL DBA. I'm not a SQL guru, but I feel like I have a good enough concept of tables and relationships between tables and dealing with data and creating queries and creating calculated fields in in a database and things like that. Like, I understand those concepts. I've done them before. So that's my background. So with that background, I was able to understand a lot about Power BI and be able to kind of go through some of the tutorials and understand what I was doing. I just the goal for this session, for this 1-hour session, was going to be to show you how SharePoint and Power BI work together. Okay, so here's the deal. When you are on Office 365, there is a Power BI license that you can buy, and it's just like with all the other licensing. So in Office 365, you can get the Power BI license, and then when you do that, your little waffle at the top left corner of your Office 365 site will have Power BI as one of the things listed in there. And then you can go to the web interface. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can tap directly into SharePoint lists, and you can just have at it. Well, a lot of you in this watching Power Hour, I was trying to target this to my audience. A lot of you probably either may not have Office 365 or may not have the Power BI license, which is, last time I checked, it was pretty expensive. But I learned that there are ways that you can use the Power BI desktop app to still be able to tap into SharePoint data and get the data and then analyze it with Power BI and do some cool little visualizations and things, and then do this thing called Publish to Web. So I put a link here in the chat window. There's this great, one of the guys that I met when I was in Australia at the Digital Workplace Conference. He did a session on Power BI and SharePoint, and I found this recording, and I put the link in the chat window. It's called Power BI and SharePoint, Adam Kogan, C-O-G-A-N, and SSWTV, and that is the same session that he taught in Australia. And so the way he taught it was having the ability to go into your SharePoint analytics was what the example that he gave. You go into the analytics and you get your logging your audit information from your SharePoint site, and his example was doing analytics on that. But it involves, so he did it with not having the Power BI service and just doing it kind of for free, just by downloading the desktop app for free. So, but what he did was so the steps are kind of, it's a lot of steps. So if you just have Power BI and your license, you guys let me know in the chat window if anybody actually has Power BI. I'm curious if you do. If you have Power BI, it's very easy. You just tap right into what information you want. But if you don't, it's a lot of steps, and that's what I was attempting to do for this demo, was to demo kind of the same concepts that he had demoed. It ended up being like basically the high-level steps are you go into the analytics in your site settings, and it spits out an Excel file. You save the Excel file to a library in SharePoint, and then you use Excel services, this string query of tapping directly into that data in the spreadsheets to pull it into Power BI, and then you have to tweak like this JSON query and make the syntax just right, and then you have to, like, it's a whole bunch of finagling. It's a whole bunch of pretty technical steps to be able to get that data from SharePoint into Power BI without having the Power BI service. And then the last step that he did in his example was he selected File and he selected Publish to Web. I can't find Publish to Web in there anywhere. So the tricky thing about this concept in Power BI, this awesome business intelligence product, is that if you do have Power BI in your tenant. It's just passing your authentication information. It's just using your credentials to be able to get to whatever data you need. But if you're doing this sort of other method of tapping into your data, you're kind of publishing your information up to this Power BI service, and all the data that you have, like in this case it's analytics, or it might be data from a SharePoint list or whatever it is, you're putting it on, like you're publishing it up to the cloud, like to this Power BI service. And then you're using, basically you would use like the little insert snippet concept in your SharePoint page to be able to, like, when you say publish to web, it gives you like this snippet of code that you can then put on your SharePoint site. So again, it's a lot of steps and it's kind of technical and complicated, and guess what? When I looked up the publish to web concept, I found some steps, you know, on the Power BI site about publish to web, but I recently got, you know, a new update to my Power BI desktop project. I don't see publish to web in there. So this is one of those things where it could be like I'm doing something wrong or I'm missing something, or Microsoft could have just recently removed it from the product and I don't know. So yeah, yay the cloud, right? Okay, so let's see, a few people said they have an exec asking if it's worth the money. Some people say no Power BI. Yeah, some people use, yeah, SSRS again. So I used to love SSRS. I've done a lot of SSRS reports and used it. I mean, that's been around for years, like at least 10 years. So SSRS is another thing that I kind of have under my belt, where I thought that this would be kind of translate, and it translates a little bit. Some of the concepts are a little bit different. All right, so now that I've given you this sort of high-level overview of what and how tricky it is to get Power BI information, to do pretty Power BI visuals and not have the Power BI service, and then your data could be compromised because you're actually having to publish it to the cloud and then display it on your SharePoint site. That's a little sketchy, right? Does that sound sketchy to you guys? So again, they might have removed that. I don't know if they removed that set. So you guys let me know if you're in the chat window if you see anything about publish to web being removed. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you Power BI and show you some examples of how cool it looks. Has anybody seen Power BI? Has anybody not seen it? You guys let me know that in the chat window too, like if you understand the concept or if you've never seen it before or what. But this is kind of like the new cool better way of doing reports, as opposed to you know, kind of the older ones like SSRS. So I'm going to go to my, let me get my correct screen pulled up here. Of course, my session expired, so it's got to refresh. Before I start sharing my desktop, Joelle and Corey, do y'all have anything that you wanted to say about Power BI, or have you tried it or anything? Any comments?
I haven't had a chance to use it yet, unfortunately. I've always used SSRS, which is clunky, to say the least.
Yeah, I've played with it a little bit, but actually we are using it at Co-Designed internally to do some really cool stuff. With we actually use a time tracking tool called Harvest for like tracking time entry and stuff, and we're doing some cool dashboards and stuff like that with that information by hooking into that. So definitely have seen some cool stuff. I love the natural language search that you can do, like, you know, how many, you know, what is the amount billed this week or whatever, and it will actually like figure that out and give you a result. It's pretty cool.
My computer has got so much going on right now. I'm thinking I might just kill Slack and try and make it so that it's a little more streamlined. All right. I'm going to show you the end results. I'll share my screen here using, since I can't, I had issues last week when I was trying to share my screen through this other application because there was a time delay with my voice using my microphone and then using this other screen to be able to have the green screen and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screen share through the Google app. All right, so screen one and go. And I'm going to click present to everyone. And before I do all this, I've got to do my display settings. Sorry about that. Oh, a giraffe. You never know what you're going to get with the Bing image of the day. All right. Display settings. And the reason I do the display settings differently is so that it looks better when you're watching it on YouTube later. Let's see. Where did it go? There we go. Keep changes. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with showing you an end result, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of some of the steps. Of course, this is only Power Hour. This is only an hour, so to be able to really fully comprehend everything you can do in Power BI, I recommend you to go to powerbi.com and go to the Learning section, where it goes through all these examples and all these steps, and even has some like step-by-step tutorial type stuff you can walk through yourself. And if you need to be able to try Power BI out and you don't have the license, you can go get a trial of Office 365 and be able to at least try it out and have a place where you can play around and see what that looks like. All right, so here we go. I am going to show you a few reports that I created. Of course, with my resolution changed, it looks a little wonky, but here we go. Okay, so this is, okay, so I did a few different ones. I did, and I'll show you how I did them in a minute. But what I did was I did a Bing search of SharePoint 2016. I did a Google Analytics on my wonderlaura.com on my blog, and I did one on my MailChimp, my mail campaigns, like all my newsletters that I send out that some of you might have gotten before. So this first one is, this is information about a specific Bing search. So this is like a canned, what's called a content pack. So when we go and I walk you through creating this, this is a content pack where you can type any query, and I just type SharePoint 2016, and it's going to show me all the information in this little canned content pack with this cool little visual. So I can go down to this map, and I can go click on the United States, and I can see, well, when I hover over it, I can see the number of people that have done this search. I can see some news information about this search, and I can see the top languages, this other cool little visualization that looks like tiles, and I can see languages of the people that search for SharePoint 2016. And of course the volume and some changes like that. So that's a pretty basic one. Now when I go over to Google Analytics, we're going to have this nice little, look at this, ask a question about your data. So this is the thing Joelle was mentioning, where you can have the natural language thing and be able to, let me see, let me turn my camera off, there we go, and be able to just type some words just in English and just see what, it just will show you the results. That's really, really neat. So what we have is some of the coolness in Power BI. Let me see if I can move this little toolbar out of the way. There we go. This is a Google Analytics of my WonderLaura site, and it's showing me my hits. So I get these are the days down here, and I can see sessions versus hits, and I can see average daily new users. And when I click on the average daily new users, look at this. It's actually got multiple tabs down here. So these are different, sort of like where you had in, let's see, what was the other product? Well, in SSRS you could do multiple pages where you would have different little displays on them. And in, what was the other, not Performance Point, it was another one that had multiple pages like that. It's kind of like the concept of views, so it's all still the same set of data, but all your different little pages down here are basically kind of like just different views and different dashboards, all with the same set of data. Okay, so I started off on site traffic, but when I clicked on the information about the users, this shows me the total number of users, And it's got all this additional information when I hover over things, and it's got, let's see, how can I scroll down? Can't scroll down. There's nothing to scroll down to. Information about average daily new users. And look at this, when I click on a specific bar in the chart, like new users versus sum of users, when I do that, and you'll see it better in other places, it actually filters other things on the page. All right, let me go back to my site traffic page, and look, if I click on Monday, ooh, isn't that awesome? So this is one of the really, really powerful things in Power BI, is that you have this interactive filtering going on. So when I clicked on Monday, did you see everything else on the page changed? So when I click on Tuesday, see the numbers and the little chart at the bottom changed to show me all the specific information about Tuesday. And then I can click it again to unselect it. And then I've got system usage. These are all the people that go to my website. And just like with the other one a minute ago, I clicked on North America, and that, look what it did with the pie chart. It made it more specific to North America. It sort of filtered it down, and it filtered down this bar chart at the bottom, and I could click on it again and see how everything kind of shrinks and grows. Pretty cool. What is this? United Kingdom. Anyway, that's pretty fun. So you can tell that you have all these different sort of ways that you can look at the data. You have just your regular old pie charts and bar charts and line charts and things like that you've had with a lot of different BI products. But you also have Tomro says, do the tabs dynamically build, or did you have to predefine and design them? These tabs that I'm looking at right now with this Google Analytics are part of what's called a content pack that someone from Google probably, or someone from Microsoft created with this template that's already filled out. So theoretically what I could do, which theoretically, is take data that's from SharePoint and somehow sort of recreate this concept and be able, you'd have to have all the right data and all the right information about the data to be able to recreate it, but you could say, like, recreate the same idea that they did in here with sort of all the ways that they're displaying things, and you could just get ideas from these content packs and learn from them. So I've got top pages, page load time. Anyway, all right, so let me go back over to my next one is MailChimp, and it looks kind of different. Let me see. And I'll show you a little bit more about it in a minute. So it shows me all the emails that I've sent, shows me my campaign activity, again, a cool little map. And, ooh, look at this little bubble chart. So it's showing me unique campaign open, people opening the campaign, and a bubble chart. Of course, I accidentally clicked on something. It took me to another page. And here's where I can see all the specific emails I've sent and information about who's clicking on them. And again, I can click different items over here on the left, and the information will change on the rest of the page. So a lot of these things I can click on and be able to, look, I even clicked on this bar chart. So the bar chart got filtered from something else, but when I click the bar chart, it also filters everything else. And a lot of those filters are built in, just related to the way you've built your queries. So a lot of this, I mean, it can get pretty complicated in the way you have your data on the back end, but the end result is pretty amazing. And as you can see, this can get pretty complicated, and it could be, it's a lot to learn to be able to go in here and create these all yourself and be able to understand. Well, first of all, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, if you've ever seen this happen, I want to hear about this in the chat window, by the way. Do people from your business come to you, the SharePoint person, and say, we want dashboards? Of course, I'm looking at the camera. I don't have my camera on. We want dashboards. And then you get in a meeting with them to talk about the dashboards they want. And you say, okay, well, where's your data? What do you want dashboards on? And they have no idea. They just want dashboards. So the first sort of struggle to being able to get these pretty analytics is figuring out what they want to see and just kind of what answers they want to see on their dashboard every day, having to do with the company's sales or having to do with generated leads or hits to the website or whatever it happens to be. So that's really the biggest, in my experience dealing with BI, that's one of the pretty much the biggest struggle, is just pulling teeth from the business to find out what they want. And in a lot of cases, at least in my experience, it's been me guessing. Once they give me the data, me just kind of creating some ideas and some dashboards and showing them to them, and then once they start seeing things, then they get more ideas as to, oh, well, then we need to see a bar chart of this, and when you click this, it could show this other thing, and people usually need examples in front of them to get, to get those requirements in a lot of cases, right? All right, does that happen to you before, Corey? Yeah, he's nodding his head.
Yeah. Everybody always wants dashboards. Dashboards. Well, and somebody was just saying everybody wants their dashboards on the cell phone, like the future. But you have to do something like this, or I don't think SSRS does mobile dashboards, unless I'm mistaken.
Right.
But,
there's even a Power BI app as
yeah.
well. Yeah, Power BI is it's the way of the future. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so then we've got, this is just all in the browser that I'm showing right now, and then we've got a way that we can go edit the report. Now, what I'm going to do before I start just editing this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Power BI just on my desktop, just from scratch, and show you kind of just some basic things you can do to be able to tap into your data. So what I've got is, let's see, this is an important link here. This has to do with the fact that in Power BI now, in case I don't get through to be able to demo this, you can do Power BI target in SharePoint, basically in Office 365 groups. You can do Power BI. So you can do that. Oh, I got to open up Slack again. So you have this integration with Power BI in Office 365 groups, which is pretty amazing. I wanted to at least mention this and give you the link to it, if just in case we don't get to go delve into that. No pun intended. All right. Oh, Slack is connecting. All right. So let me give you that link over here in Power Hour. Right, so that's with SharePoint, that's with Office 365 groups, and recently they did announce that Office 365 groups and team sites are kind of going to be one and the same, so that will be interesting. So that's one thing that you guys need to keep in mind, and let me go ahead and give you a couple of other, this is, I gave you the link to Adam Kogan's tutorial where he shows you how to do the thing with the with the Excel sheet and the JSON and all that stuff. This is one of the references he had in there on how to sort of write this reference to the Excel REST API. And then this was kind of me trying to tap into one of my spreadsheets in the API over here. And I'm trying to send you all these links real quick before I switch over my demo. Let's see. No, I think that's all I had. There's an Azure, if anybody's using Azure, there's an Azure Audit Logs Content Pack. There probably is Microsoft Virtual Academy information about Power BI. If Joelle or Corey or somebody can go to MBA Microsoft Virtual Academy and see if there's some Power BI stuff in there. But anyway, there's some links, and let me close Slack again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up. These are some Power BI things that I already started, but I'm going to go ahead and do a new one. Just to start from scratch and show you kind of what your experience is going to be in here, using my vast amount of knowledge. Okay, so I love the way that they have they're immediately showing you some tutorials on how to go in there and start doing things. They immediately want you to be able to learn this stuff. They have a blog. You can tap into your Facebook analytics, a lot of neat stuff. So they immediately have all this information. I'm going to start with get my data. Oh, thanks, Corey. That's perfect. A Power BI class in Microsoft Virtual Academy. Very cool. All right, look at all these places I can get my data from. Ooh. So we were really just going to focus on SharePoint today, but I want you to point out that if you have Power BI for your enterprise, look at all the places you can get data from and potentially display it in SharePoint and display it in an Office 365 group, etc. So there are a ton of different of these already created little connectors that you can use to tap into your data. So if I type, well, let me go ahead and show you, let's see. I'll show you how I created my Google Analytics one. I better not do QuickBooks and show you all my money. So I'll just show you kind of the steps I took. It's pretty simple. So I click on the Google Analytics and I click Connect. Oh, it's already got it. Basically, it just had me authenticate to my Google account. And since I already have Google Analytics set up, then it just takes me to my Google Analytics account and authenticates me. So all I really need to give it is my authentication to my Google Analytics, and then it automatically had that content pack that I was able to do. Now, when I did it, okay, so you have a different experience, by the way, when you're doing this in this desktop version versus on the Office 365 site. So I'll kind of show you that as well. So this, me tapping into Google Analytics in here, is got all this raw data. So this is not a content pack. This is just the Google. I said get data. I said where do I want to get it from, and this is the raw data of everything in my Google Analytics. So I kind of have to know, just like with the business coming to you and saying they want dashboards, you kind of have to know and understand the data itself to be able to know, you know, get to it and be able to tap into it and go get what you need. So what I can do is I can go click on one of the data sources. Let's see, 30-day active users. No, okay, wait, let me see. See, I don't know if it's missing something here. Requires at least one measure. Okay, so I need to have a measure specified to be able to have more information about the users. So this has to do with the data itself, so I need to have at least a table of what the raw data is to be able to have sort of these queries that go across and do calculations off of the raw data. Does that make sense? So yeah. Event tracking, session. Let me try this. Let me try both of these. No. God. So frustrating. I'm looking for one with just a table in it. See, when I did it before and I did it in Office 365, like I was saying, it was very easy, and I just clicked the content pack and it just had all the information in there. So see if I select, yeah, I'm not going to try and just fumble. I've been fumbling through this thing for several days trying to get together a nice coherent demo, and I wasn't able to even do that. So, all right, so basically, let me go to a data source that I know and understand. Okay, so I'm going to go get data again, and what I'm going to choose is a SharePoint list. Okay, and I have a SharePoint list of tasks that I'm going to tap into, so I'm just going to type SharePoint. Right, and then I'm going to do SharePoint online list. You can do on-prem too. So even if you want to, you know, you can authenticate to your on-premises information and tap into it from here as well. I'm going to pick SharePoint online list and connect to that. And I need to give it the URL. So I actually have a demo site. I've got like a million different demo sites. Let me go give it the URL of this one. Let's see. Copy. And that is here. That's the URL directly to a site, to a SharePoint site, and then it's probably going to ask me to authenticate. So this is Office 365, so I need to do my organizational account, and I have to sign in. And Corey and Joelle, if y'all tell me if somebody's asking a question, I might not necessarily see it. Oops. I had a lot of this stuff logged in already, but then in preparation for this, but then of course it timed out when I was, all this time I've been talking. All right, so it's getting my information. Now it's going to show me the site and all the lists and libraries in the site, and I'm going to tap into the one that I want. So it's going to give me a preview of my data, or it's not going to give me a preview of my data. All right, let me try clicking edit. Yeah, this is what I've been dealing with all these days trying to get this prepared. And I actually did get one of these working. I think it seems like some list types might just not be compatible with this, because I was able to pull in information from SharePoint lists in here. It's just like if there's maybe some type of column that it doesn't like, or a content type that it doesn't like, it just gives you a wonky error. So that's not cool. Let me go to one that I know that I've done before. Let me see. This one's going to be, close that. All right. This is my data that I got. All right. So once you get to the screen where when it actually works and it gives you your data, then it's going to pull you to this query editing screen where you can basically go through here and clean it up. So this is information that I basically just imported from an Excel file from an audit log from SharePoint. It's kind of raw data. But what you can do is you can go through here and pick the columns that aren't going to be relevant to you when you're doing your reporting. And so that way you can clean it all up so you don't have these massive amounts of data with a lot of columns you might not need. So you can even use the control key to go through here and select the columns you want or you don't want and just remove them that way. And then you can even say, you know, if you have like a first row that's got the names of the columns, you can say use first row as headers, and then it will just turn the headers into whatever that first row of data was from your spreadsheet. All right, so that's kind of what your raw data looks like. So I can tap into several different tables, like several different lists in SharePoint, and get the data to have multiple queries here. And then I can even create queries from scratch. So another thing that you're probably going to be doing a lot in here is going to be creating like calculated columns. For example, if I have two different date fields, like when an event started and when it ended, I'm probably going to want to go in here and create a calculated column and just directly create it inside of here. And then I'm also going to want to go in here and create relationships. So let me go ahead and go back to where I was. I'm going to want to go in here and create relationships between my tables. And this is just like the relationship screen that you see like when you're doing a query in Access or when you're doing views in SQL. It's the same concept. So you're going to take the data, whatever matches between two tables, and just drag it from one to the other to create that relationship. And in this way, you're going to have more dynamic data that you're going to be able to have more complex information besides just a flat table. And that gives you more of that ability to drill down and filter your information and have it, multiple different tables of information related to each other so that they'll know kind of what to filter when you're digging around in there. All right, I'm not using very technical terms, but I have a very mixed audience, and a lot of you have never seen this before, so I don't want to get too hairy into this stuff. All right, so
if any of you have ever worked with Access, this actually looks pretty familiar.
Yeah, it does. Now, in here, you don't have you have this concept of queries, but in Access, I think where we used to click tables, that's going to be what your queries are in here. Well, but you can also have then a calculated query, which is kind of like what a query would be in Access. So it's got kind of a lot of the similar concepts, yeah. So like if I had this list of information that's a view log of things that people viewed in SharePoint, and I also have an update log, and those are two separate logs that come from SharePoint. I have this concept of merging queries. so I can make the two of those things into one big query and into like sort of one big table, so that I can report off of it as one big table instead of having to have separate information about things that people viewed versus, see, it's got like telling me that somebody updated some information, and the view log is just going to have the same columns but telling me somebody viewed some information and kind of what they viewed. So in this example, what you'd want to have is you'd want to have a list of what all the sites are with the site IDs, so that you can create a relationship between this cryptic GUID in this log and what the actual words are, the name of the site. And then you'd also want to have a list of what all the items potentially are, so that you could have the name of that item, so that you'd be able to create a relationship between that ID and this ID, so that you'd be able to have a report of, you know, sort of more coherent information, because this is very, again, raw data. So let me go back to here. Now let me show you another way that we can get, I'm going to get something much more useful. So what I'm going to do is, you have the ability, instead of me trying to, what I planned on doing was tapping into SharePoint and getting all this information. Again, it ended up being much trickier than, you know, it wasn't just a few easy clicks, because, you know, like for example, I have this task list, I know it has tasks in it, but it's not pulling in and I have no idea what's wrong. So what I'm going to do is, I thought about canceling Power Hour today, actually, because I was so frustrated with this stuff, by the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Wikipedia, and I'm going to pull in some other information just so I can get to the point where I can show you some of the visuals, okay? So I'm going to, and I have SharePoint is something that I did and that I Googled and that I searched for in Wikipedia, but I want to do something that has to do like with a lot of information about dates and places. I'll do like World War II. And I'm going to go to the World War II page, and I'm just going to grab this URL. So now I can go over to Power BI, and this is my new Power BI that doesn't have anything in it yet. Get data, and I just say web here. And paste that link directly to that page. Look how easy that is. It just connects. Okay. Because the visualizations are the part that is really the fun part that I really wanted to demo, and then it got so frustrating trying to get the SharePoint information to just make sense and to be coherent and to connect correctly. That my SharePoint friends that are Power BI gurus, if they ever see this, they'll probably watch this and cringe because you know, I'm not doing it right, or something maybe was obvious that I missed. But all right. So what I can see in here is that I've got a lot of information. They don't have names for these tables, but it's got a lot of information from the web page itself. Now, what I want is I want to see like battles that happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to Wikipedia real quick, and I'm going to go to fatalities. So I'm going to go to the list of casualties, and it's giving me, I'm going to create in Power BI a map. That's kind of morbid, I know. Create a map.
The light and humorous Power Hour.
Yay, yay. Well, y'all let me know if you can think of any other kind of cool Wikipedia page that might have places and dates that is not based on death. So, yeah. My husband's a real World War II buff, so I was kind of like trying to show him how cool Power BI was. He's a computer guy, he's a Citrix admin, but he's not like a nerd like me about it. Like it's not fun to him like some of this stuff is. All right, we've got, this is morbid. A lot of these tables are not named in here, but what I'm looking for is just something with, there we go, total deaths. That's a lot. Not really. Okay, see, look, we got places, and we've got numbers, and we've probably got dates too. Let me see. Yeah, see, that's the kind of information I wanted. I wanted to just have like a lot of numbers and places and dates just to be able to pull that in. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box. And no, wait, that wasn't it. It was this one. Sorry. This one. Okay. So I could go in there and check multiple boxes, and those would be I'm clicking edit because what I want to do is I want to go in here and clean it up a little bit before I pull it into Power BI. So that's the part where you go through and get rid of any columns that you don't think that you're going to need when you're doing your reporting. All right, so I clean it up, and then I do close and apply. That's my next step. And then it's going to pull all this information over into the fields in Power BI. I tried to pull over something that was way too large, like one of the audit lists I was trying to tap into in SharePoint. It gave me an error that there was too much information in it. So I guess you got to get like a happy medium. All right, so here's all my data, and it's even showing me some, like a little icon showing me things that are sums. And then I got to pick what kind of visualization I want. So when I can hover over, I can click to create new pages, like were the ones that you saw across the bottom when I was looking at my other ones. And I can, there's a whole website full of visuals, so Power BI visuals that people in the community have created themselves. So some of the visuals here are like bar charts and line charts and this cool little tile chart, but people, just regular people, have created tons and tons of other visuals. If one of you can go see if you can find that. I know I tweeted about it a few weeks ago, but people have created their own visuals, and you can go download those visuals off of that web page, off of the Power BI web page, and use those in your own report. So I just clicked to put a map visual in here, and so once I put a map visual in here, look, see, it's got, I need to know where to put my data. So I've got location. So a location is going to be like, I think it was this one, where it had like, see, it had like the names of some places. See, it said, look at that, it said Georgia with that, and that's all the words said in the table. So it assumed it was Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia in like the United States, Georgia. So that's not Georgia, that's the Georgia over here. All right, so all it had was the names. So it just went into a map and pulled up all the names and just threw them in here. So that when I go click on any of these, now it's got information, and I'm hovering over and it shows me the name. So that's all I've done so far, is just drag the names over. And then I can put this under size, how big do I want it to be? So if I want the size of the bubble to be bigger depending on the number of deaths, that's what I just did. So now the bubbles have various sizes depending on that other number. All right, so this is where you can really kind of get, like, if I want a different tooltip to show, I can drag a different field over here to show it as a tooltip, like when people hover over it, I want something else. And so depending on the type of visualization you select up here, you're going to get different fields to drag fields to drag your fields into. I'm not even using the correct terminology, basically. So you're going to have little different areas, filters, to drag your fields into to build out what you're trying to show here. So I can narrow this down a little bit, and I can also just take this data and just export it to somewhere else. And then I can also, let me go ahead and add another little visual to this page. I can also add I'm just going to add a table and move it over here, and then I can just put that and that and that. And you can see that it's just raw data that it's showing in here. Those column names are really long, so I could go back into my little query editor and edit the column names to make them something that's more useful, that's not going to be really long like those. So this is going to be just a flat, ugly table. Also, when I'm in my visualizations, another option I have here is this little paintbrush, and that lets me do my colors. So, ooh, look at that. So I can make them look a little, maybe if they're deaths, it's a little more morbid. So it's red. And then I can even give different colors to different ones of these locations. So I can even specifically color all my different cities if I wanted to. All right, so those are kind of some of the options that you have for the way to do your data. I can say I don't have latitude and longitude in here. If that was part of my table information, I could put latitude and longitude. It would make it more accurate. And then I can even have a background if I want to change my background color to something. Look, so there's my background color. Again, you can kind of just click through here and see all the different things that it lets you choose from. to make it look a certain way. All right, okay, so that's the little paintbrush. Do all users have to have a license for Power BI just to view it, or does the person who creates them? I'm pretty sure everybody does, but I'm not positive. Yeah, I might have to ask around for that one. All right, so what I can do is look at that. So remember that whole filtering thing? So I'm just clicking on different circles in here, and it's automatically filtering my list over here. So see, I click on Asia, and it narrows it down to just that one row. I click over here, so it's narrowing down the data. I didn't even have to do anything special. So it's the way the data is structured already that it's knowing to go do that for me. So a lot of it has to do with just your setup in just your raw data itself. So it just knows. These are, this is pretty simple because it's just one table of information. I don't have multiple tables and relationships in this particular one. But if you did, that's when it gets a little more complex, and you can have, more of a sort of rich interface to have, just like the web page one where you have hits on, pages, and you have users, and then you have hit counts, and you have dates, and all kinds of neat stuff. There's another thing that you can do when you have date information. There's a lot of really sort of rich interactivity that you can create around your dates. Like when people see the dates in your chart, they can click particular dates and narrow it down, etc. There in the learning section on Power BI, there's actually a whole section. Let me show you guys this. We go to Power BI. There is, when I go to learning, guided learning, I recommend you all go to this and see. Y'all can come back here and teach me what I messed up, because y'all are all going to go learn this. Again, there are a whole bunch of little videos in here. Of course, if I had spent time and watched every single video, then I would know more than I do. But it's a good bit to learn. As you can see, I just pulled in one little table and was able to quickly put together a map and a filter that filters a table of information based on what I click on the map. But then you have to have your data right. So, like for example, let's see. Where's the one that I was going to show you? It was something about dates. Time-based data, that's it. This is really, so I'm not going to go play this video for you, of course, but when you have data that's got dates in it, it gives you the ability, so your little charts that you're looking at are going to give you the ability to quickly change this to view, like based on month, based on week and day and things like that, and be able to determine how you want to drill down on that information. So having dates in your data is going to be very powerful. Let's see. Oh, Shay Tallman put Power BI licensing information in there. That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, Tony, it is free. Tony, this desktop application is free, but everybody's tenant in Office 365 is not going to have it. So let me go to my tenant and show you some of that as well. All right, let me go over to, so that is not it. This is my tenant, okay? So when you go to and I encourage you all to try this right now while we're still in Power Hour, go to your tenant and see if you see Power BI here. So what I showed you a second ago was the desktop one, which is free. But every tenant, like every customer that I have, and like even my own personal tenant for my own company, doesn't just have Power BI in it, and it's not a free license. So when you go to your tenant and you see Power BI there, that's going to be the not free one. Okay? So what I can do is get data in here, and this is a kind of a different experience than I saw in the desktop version, right? So it's if my organization has its own content packs, I can use those. So think about this. Think about like a task list in SharePoint and being able to drill down and report and have pretty charts based on, you know, tasks that are overdue and people who haven't completed their tasks, right, Corey? We've done that before. Think about that concept, and then think about like creating a content pack based on a task list in SharePoint, and then other people in your organization could just take that content pack and put their task list in it maybe, and be able to have all the pretty charts and things like that already created just for them. So if your organization has content packs, I doubt my little, yeah, see, this is blank. So my organization, my little test thing does not have any. Now this is the same list of things that we saw when I was in the client application. It's just got pretty little descriptions next to everything. So there's Google Analytics, there's MailChimp, those are the ones that I showed you already. There's going to be a Salesforce, there's Microsoft Dynamics, Microsoft Project, QuickBooks, Salesforce. So again, ton of different stuff. I kind of already went over that. But that's where you can start with those pre-existing content packs. But then the files is going to be like, this is just going to be if you have static data that's in an Excel file that you want to bring into Power BI, and then databases. This is where it gets really fancy with being able to pick between different databases that you might want to tap into. So it looks like I'm in the same sort of Power BI that I had on my desktop, but it's not. This is the web version. So like, what am I going to find under SharePoint team sites? Oh, I have to navigate to my team site. So let me try it this way. I tried it in the client earlier, and it gave me an error when I tried to tap into my team site. Now I'm going to try it. God, I've got so many windows open. Where am I? Sorry. Lost the window I was in. Kidding me? Oh my gosh. That's not it. Dun, dun, dun. This is the site of where okay, here it is. It was just the next tab over. Sorry about that. Right, so that is, the URL is not valid. Okay, let me try just going up. See, it gave me a more useful error than the one that it had on the client one. Okay, so yeah, it's not even, I don't know if it just needs the root or what, but it's not very descriptive. URL is not valid, or you do not have permission to the site. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I'm in my MOD. You know what? Let me just re-authenticate here. Yeah, see, I'm on a different site. MOD 780.823. 780.823.sharepoint.com. Let me make sure I'm on the right site, and then go try that URL. I have way too many tenants, by the way. All right, so now I'm in my little demo site. I could have sworn this is where I was a minute ago. Let me try this again. And it takes me to app.powerbi.com, and then again, this is where I was a minute ago, and I'm going to go get data again and go to files and go to SharePoint team sites and go paste that data in again. Yeah, it's not, it's kind of confused. So maybe it's authenticating me as somebody else when it takes me to app.powerbi.com. I can try a different URL to a different tenant. I think SharePoint could very well be confused about all the different tenants that I have. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I tried to have all this smooth and running perfectly for this demo, and I kept running into things like this that drove me insane. So I don't know what that is expecting right there that it's not getting. I'll try my personal OneDrive. Ta-ta. Let me go do my authentication on another screen. Okay, so it's asking me if this app can access my info. Yeah, sure. And that's my personal OneDrive. Oh, it actually worked. Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, so that's really interesting. So I'm in Power BI, but I'm in my personal OneDrive. So I've got, like, we went on a Girl Scout trip to Savannah the other day, and so I have all these files in here. So what is my BI, though, right? It's time to stop now. Yeah, see, guys, that, speaking of me making myself learn this stuff, I really have been wanting to learn this for a while, for a few months now. Let me go ahead and just stop sharing my screen instead of just fumbling around in here, and turn my camera back on. There we go. All right, so I really have been wanting and meaning to learn Power BI for months and months now. So what I was doing was I was forcing myself to learn it and first forcing myself to get familiar with it and demo it. But I underestimated all the complex little weird issues that I was going to come across when trying to just get SharePoint data into it. So there are a lot of different things that I wasn't able to tap into in this, if you call it a demo today. Just like the way that you can go in and create a lot of little nuanced things, like how you can create calculated columns, how you can polish up your data just right, how you can create calculated tables even, and just a lot of the more technical. I didn't go into a lot of the super technical concepts, but I really encourage you guys to go through the learning. They have it all mapped out really nice and neat. They have the one in Microsoft Virtual Academy, and there is theoretically a way that you can use this without having to have the license, but again, your data is going to be in the cloud, and that's kind of sketchy because you're not going to be authenticating to it. You're just going to be like viewing it in a web part, and it's not going to be using your authentication as if you had the license for it. So again, supposedly there was supposed to be a save to web here on the file page, but again, I never did find it. So I don't know if it's something they removed or what. So, any last questions? All right, I will let you go. Sorry about how painful that was. Hopefully you guys at least got some concepts. Let me know what you thought. You got some concepts about what Power BI is, what it entails, all the cool types of data that you can tap into, the fact that there are visualizations, the fact that the visualizations talk to each other, and you can go download more visualizations. And Adam Kogan has that great presentation you should go watch to learn how to tap into SharePoint data. But again, I'm not sure if they changed the product to remove some of the things he was showing in that demo.
It was a good toe into the waters of Power BI. A nice little intro.
What did you think, Joelle? She's like, yeah, okay, it was fine. Joel and I are going to be meeting all afternoon, talking about our session that we are going to do at SB TechCon. It's a half-day session on not Power BI, manage metadata and metadata navigation and sort of cross-site publishing and concepts like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. That'll be good.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and I will see you next time. I don't remember off the top of my head what I put as a topic for next week. Oh, we'll be at SB TechCon next week. So I think
we're doing Power Hour from SP TechCon.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Are we? Is it like on the schedule or anything, or how's that going to work? Or are we just going to kind of kludge through something like we do every year?
Last time we had that whole we had a table and we all sat at the table and that was kind of fun.
We did, and then
a little panel thing.
One person came.
Yes. Nobody does that. Okay, so what I put on my schedule, I did not put next week because just I wasn't sure off the top of my head at the time in the middle of the night when I was probably writing this blog post. But we'll figure something out. We'll add it to the schedule if we do.
If you all are going to SB TechCon, come and see it live.
Yes, and come find us and say hi at least.
Yeah. Or even if you're just in Boston and want to stop by, and nobody's going to stop you at the door of the Sheraton Hotel. So come stop by.
Monroe wrote, live from a bar nearby at 11 o'clock in the morning. Right.
No, that'll be afterward.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.